Hi there, I'm Zoot Java. Today I'd like to talk about how the censorship happy Google are actually opposed to the mass censorship plans that Canada has in store. But first, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to leave links down below where you can follow me on two other video hosting sites where I won't have to censor my language and topics also. So there may be more to be found there. Uh, Anyways, let's get right into this now and talk about it. Now, Google are a company that has been devoted to censorship in the last little while. And they've kind of become like the first big tech company to criticize Canada and the government's plan to so-called fight harmful content online. According to the owner of YouTube, Canada's proposal could result in an increased removal of legitimate content. Now, the Canadian government proposed a new law in July of 2021 that would lead to the creation of a new watchdog, if you will, and it's called the Digital Safety Commission, or the DSC, and they would hold online platforms liable if they don't remove flagged harmful content within 24 hours. Now, the proposed law identifies 5 types of harmful content that platforms would be required to remove after a complaint is made. They are terrorism, hate speech, incitement to violence, child sexual exploitation, and non-consensual sharing of sexual images. Now, in a blog post of Google Canada, the company said that the requirement to remove content within 24 hours could be exploited actually by some groups to restrict legitimate speech. And it's essential to strike the right balance between speed and accuracy, the company said. They also said that user flags are best utilized as signals of potentially violative content rather than the definitive statements of violation. Now, in an attempt to demonstrate that flagging of harmful content by users is not effective, Google said that in the second quarter of 2021, that out of the 17.2 million videos that were flagged by users on YouTube, only 300,000 were ultimately removed. But in the same period, the company removed 6.2 million videos for violating the policies. So Canada's proposed online safety law also recommends that platforms monitor content for the 5 harmful categories before users post. And Google believed that could further increase the censorship of legitimate content. They say that imposing proactive monitoring obligations could result in the suppression of lawful expression, and it would be out of step with international democratic norms. So now there's a research chair of Canada's Internet and E-commerce law at University of Ottawa, and his name is Michael Geist, and he agrees with Google. He called the proposed law deeply flawed. Michael Geist also noted that hate groups could use the law to target anti-hate groups. And since there's a 24-hour time constraint and penalties for platforms, they would succeed. So Google suggests that it's actually going to lead to over-blocking, over-removal of content. Companies are warning that there is a threat to freedom of expression, and that threat extends to the groups that we're trying to protect. Geist also explained that Google and other platforms were most likely going to use this to proactively monitor content that could get flagged. he said that it raises concerns, especially for vulnerable communities, given the potential for bias within these systems. So, what's my take on this? Of course, I think it's ridiculous, and the Canadian government is right at it, wanting to censor everything that people in Canada say. Justin Trudeau realizes that there's too much of the truth out there about him that he does not want anybody to talk about. There are things that are put up about him that he does not like, things that are true, things that are very harmful to him. And he probably figures, and his little group have probably told him, that these are things that more than likely have done absolute harm, particularly in the last election that he called, figuring he was going to get a victory in controlling the government. It didn't happen. Everything turned out to be exactly the same, almost to a T, of what it had been before the election, which cost $610 million. So they paid that much money for the same thing to happen. There's a problem that he sees and he knows. They are putting it in for people to understand that, oh, this is just about, controlling hate speech. Basically, that's what he's putting out there. However, it's going to be absolutely anything that is said against him is going to be probably put out there to be grabbed and flagged instantly. And it doesn't have to be anything hateful. It doesn't have to be inciting anything at all. It doesn't have to do anything with uttering threats. It is just true things about him. And as soon as the stuff is there, it will be flagged. This is not a free society. He is turning this into nothing short of a fascistic society where he wants to control everything. I also feel, as I have discussed this with someone before, that once you start to censor on a scale of this sort, that you're going to have two things happen. One is going to be people will start to censor themselves further than they already are when they're talking on YouTube. And all you have to do is take a look at different content creators when they're talking and how they have to code word everything. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So the other thing is that YouTube itself would start to over censor. They would just take it as, we're better off to just not put this up there, not allow this up there, than to have to bother to see if it's going to be flagged. So that's the take I have on it. It's absolutely horrible, and I agree, for once, with Google about this. Anyways, I have a really bad joke here, as is per usual. So a man recently had one of his arms amputated, and he decided that life wasn't worth living any longer and decided he wanted to end himself by jumping off of a building. He got up to the top and he looks down and he sees another man who had both of his arms amputated, and he was just dancing all over the place. So this man said, well, if he's got both arms missing, and he says, I got to go down and see why he's so happy. Maybe life is still worth living. And he said to him, why are you so happy with both your arms missing? I can't believe, what are you over here dancing about? He said, I'm not dancing. He goes, my butt's itchy and I can't scratch it. Pretty bad, huh? Okay. So, anyhow, as I said, like and subscribe. share my content, because I'm under the gun by YouTube, and I appreciate everything. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a Java on Zoot.